Hello, welcome. It's Francis here. Thank you for coming back to my channel. If this is your first time here, I bid thee welcome. There's a subscription and a bell below if you would like to be notified when I upload more content, because I do that on a rather ad hoc basis. In this meditation, Freudian slip. In this video, I wanted to talk about meditation. There we go. Because I did mention in my earlier video on the basics, I guess, one of the foundational practices I consider for any spiritual path, whether it's earth-centric, such as contemporary witchcraft, initiatory Wicca, Druidry, etc., or whether it's just general spiritual path, is meditation. In the West, we have an interesting perception on meditation. I know when I started learning about meditation, we were taught to visualize a blank screen in the mind's eye. Close your eyes, visualize a blank screen. I failed at that because I could never get a blank screen. And that's what they term, or it's been derived through from Zen Buddhism. Now, it's right if you're a Zen Buddhist monk. I'm not. I'm very much rooted in the Western world. We have what we call monkey mind. So I find meditations that give my conscious mind something to do a lot more beneficial. The next form of meditation that I learned, especially when I was beginning to get involved with Magick, was what they call the fourfold breath. So this started to get into the concept of following the breath. Breathing in for a count of 4, holding for a count of 4, exhaling for a count of 4, holding for a count of 4, before you inhale again. And you complete that cycle. Sometimes that fourfold breath, that pattern could be changed to a 4-2 breath, where you're only holding the breath for a count of 2. Or it could be extended to 8-fold breath, 16-fold breath. But the whole purpose was for the conscious mind to focus on the breath, and we're actually breathing from the top of the lungs into the diaphragm. And us in the West, we shallow breathe, which is really bad. We're not breathing into our diaphragm properly, which is probably why we get a lot of stress and anxiety, because all that's all in the head, and we shallow breathe. And it's been proven that when we start breathing deeper into our diaphragm, that actually helps with our mental health, but also helps with our physical health as well. It's quite interesting. There's lots of scientific discoveries or information about the benefits. So another form of meditation that we're very familiar with in the West is mindfulness. So again, there's a lot of interpretations as to what mindfulness actually is. Thich Nhat Hanh brought mindfulness, was one of the contributing monks who brought mindfulness to the West. And a lot of it is single-pointed focus. And there is a specific yogic term for that, which has just skipped my mind at the moment. But it is, instead of worrying about everything, what we're going to have for dinner, what our neighbours are doing, why the dog is barking down the road, am I going to put the bins out tomorrow night? Just breathe and focus on the here and now. That's all it is. And Thich Nhat Hanh talked about meditation at the kitchen sink, in that even doing a task such as the dishes could be, even though most of us probably have dishwashers these days, I still do dishes. It's even the most basic of tasks could be turned as meditation. Get rid of the blank screen completely. All we are doing is being mindful and thinking, turning our focus onto what we are doing. Washing the dishes, we wash the dishes. We focus on the soap suds, we focus on the sponge that we're using, we focus on the grime, we focus on the clean plate as it moves out of the water. There used to be an ad, I think it was a Sunlight soap, where they used to run their finger across it and it will squeak. And that was the sign saying that your dishes are clean. So we're focusing our intention on just that one task. My kitchen sink overlooks my garden and I have a bird bath there, and often I am watching the birds while I'm doing washing my dishes, and that's again a form of mindfulness meditation, watching the birds. And it's quite interesting watching the pecking order of the pigeons and the sparrows, and there's a one lonely blackbird that comes in every now and then, and the little honey eaters. Also, Buddhism talks about a walking meditation where each step that you take, you're mindful of your footprint on the ground, or if you're wearing shoes, the pressure of your feet. And that's a form of meditation. When you're engrossed in something, that's a form of meditation as well. When you're focusing on sport or a TV show, that's a form of mindfulness. When you're totally engrossed in that. But when it comes to ritual and magic and witchcraft, we're talking about another form of meditation, or different forms of meditation, depending on our purpose. In contemporary witchcraft in particular, because we are more religiously orientated, our objective for meditation is establishing a connection with the divine, connection with the other, connection with the gods. And sometimes we just want to say hello, to feel their presence. Sometimes our connection is because we want something, we need assistance, or we're asking for assistance, or we want clarity, insight, wisdom, depending on our purpose. So how we do that could be through, and a lot of my practice, not a lot of my practice, but my practice does contain a number of sort of more Eastern techniques, because I find they work for me. In particular, I'm big on mantras, and I like mantras largely depending on who I'm working with, because there is almost like a egregore, collective consciousness attached to them. Mantras are just like a sacred prayer, affirmation, connection, usually with a Hindu deity. They come from the yogic traditions. So you're building up on thousands of years of people saying prayers to these deities. So if you are aligned with Hindu deities, I'm aligned with a couple, I have a connection with them, then these are easier ways to tap into, I won't say the collective unconsciousness, but this is power with them. And one thing that I should say about Hindu deities, I've never found them to be disparaging if you're not Hindu. I find them very open. You don't have to have a full-blown altar or do a puja or anything like that to them. Ganesha, the elephant-headed god, he's a little bit like Papa Legba in the Voodoo tradition, sort of like the gatekeeper to some deities, is very approachable. In fact, I found, from my personal experience, I found most of the Hindu deities very approachable. They like a little bit of incense, and if you're saying a few mantras, they like that as well. If you build up your relationship with them, it's like with anybody really. If you build up the relationship, if you put your own energy into that relationship, your connection is stronger. And your understanding of their insights, their wisdom is stronger, is more prevalent. A lot of the deities, from my experience, can work on very subtle levels. And if we're not aware of how they communicate, we may overlook their signs. Or we go to the other extreme where we think everything is a sign. And in doing that, we sort of clutter our own receptiveness. Again, I'm getting away ahead of myself. So meditation is sort of central to my practice, so to speak. It helps with my honoring, it helps with my connection, it helps with how I use the techniques to come through, working with the energy to cast my circle, create my sacred space. It forms a foundation, a basis with the visualization when I start calling in elemental quarters or guardians, other beings that I work with. It helps me to get into that right sort of magical or ritual mindset where I'm not thinking about what I had for dinner, what I'm going to do at work tomorrow, am I going to remember to put the bins out, etc., etc., etc. Where I can actually focus on the task at hand. And to me, that's moving away from the monkey mind. It's a form of mindfulness, but on a little bit of a wider scale, is that my mind focus is on the ritual, not any other mundane aspect as well. So there are numerous ways of meditation. As I said, I use mantra, chanting the sacred sounds. I also like path workings, and these are a little bit different to guided meditations. To me, from my experience, when I've undergone a guided meditation, it's very in-depth detail, which is great. Some people like that. I like to use my own visualization abilities as well. So to me, a guided meditation will often take me somewhere, you still got a loose structure, and then leave me. And that will enable me, my consciousness, to go off and do whatever it wants to do, connect with whoever it wants to connect with, and before it comes back. Sometimes it's being brought back slowly, gently. It's a retracing of the steps. Sometimes it's very quick, depending on the task at hand. Some of the messages that come back may not make sense immediately. This is why journaling, keeping a diary, a magical diary, is vitally important, because they might appear in dreams. In a book that you're reading, there might be a passage that really stands out. You may hear something from a conversation or just passing by a complete stranger. There might be sort of the insight that you've been given. Meditation is a way of getting to know us. Who is this person under this physical being? The consciousness, the aspect to ourselves that connects with the higher forces in the universe. What is our place in the higher forces of the universe, the whole cosmos? It helps us understand more than just being a cog on the wheel. Although in this day and age, a lot of businesses focus on mindfulness practices at work purely to assist with productivity, and there's no spiritual aspect in it as well at all. So that's interesting how mindfulness has been sort of like shaped to that environment. But there are a lot of proven health benefits, I should say, to meditation, to even just following the breath. And a lot of it is stress and anxiety, depression. I do find it, if I feel overwhelmed, mantra helps me calm right down. It works for me. I'm not saying it works for everybody. But again, it's helping me to move out of my head into my soul, into my heart center, and to connect with the other beyond me. And sometimes I just feel like lighting a candle, lighting some incense, calling in deity, my God, my goddess. Even of my ancestor altar, just saying hello. And then going about my business. And again, that's a form of meditation. Meditations don't need to be hours in length. They could be a simple minute's pause as you light a candle to your ancestors, acknowledging, thinking, shifting your consciousness before you go about your day. It's just something to think about. I think, as I said earlier, it sort of flows on to I should say, what I spoke about in relation to a foundational practice. If you can do the blank Zen screen, good, fantastic. I can't. I find either relaxing music, mantras, chanting, or path working. And there are CDs, there's plenty of sites on YouTube that can offer that for you. So if you haven't done mantra or meditation before, give it a go. You might actually be amazed of what it could do for you. So I hope you have a wonderful day. Blessings.